Hi, welcome to Rusty Lizard Designs, a unique shop experience.
Well, I'm just about as happy as I can be. I just now received my Penn State lathe. I ended up getting the Turncrafter Commander Tailspinner, the 12-inch. It's a Midi Lathe, and I'm just tickled pink about it. So I've been struggling for years with a ShopSmith, and the ShopSmith, I've got a Mark V, so it's an older machine. It gets the job done, but it just seems clunky. The tool rest adjustment and all that stuff just isn't good. And the lathe was the last thing that the ShopSmith allowed me to do versus all the individual tools that I've now collected over the years. So now that I have this, I'm going to be selling my ShopSmith pretty quick. But I'm excited about this, so I got the lathe. This should be lathe accessories, and this is the bed extension. So it's my belief that if you're going to buy a new tool like this, if there's accessories for it that you think you might be interested in, go ahead and buy it. So I went ahead and bought the lathe extension. I really don't need that now. May never need it. But if I do 10 years from now and Penn State is out of business, I still have a bed extension and I don't have to worry about trying to find one or buying another lathe. So I think that's a good idea. So this will let me go up to about 40 inches in length. It doesn't increase the swing over the bed or all, but it does increase the bed itself. So let me get this stuff unboxed and get it set up, and we'll go through the setup procedure and see if we can make this lathe work. Well, there's some quality safety goggles. First box emptied, and so this is the base for the lathe. This is the main assembly here. Your motors underneath, motor control, the ways, power cord, looks like a tool holder, owner's manual. This is probably some sort of motor cover or access panel cover. We'll figure that out when I get into the manual. Like everything's just kind of jammed in here. They got some packing material on top of stuff. So I'm going to pull out whatever I find on top. There's my tool rests. You get two tool rests. There's my knockout bar. Looks like just a screwdriver and an adjustment screwdriver. So that appears to be the tailstock, and it's got a bearing in the same thread, 1-inch, 8 TPI that's on the spindle is also on the tailstock. So I could take the chuck off the spindle without unmounting the work and put it on the tailstock if I needed to. One thing about the Tailspinner that I like. This seems to be the live centers, the drive centers, and all the accessories for that. So those aren't going to be needed for a while. Hardware kit. This looks like a hand wheel. Just guessing. Yep. Another hand wheel. I think this is my face plate. Yep, and that would screw onto a head or tailstock. Part of the tool rest assembly. Look at that wad of nasty. You know, it's packed okay. It's not packed great. The styrofoam was broken, but nothing is broken. None of the machinery at this time appears to be broken. So I think they could have done a little better job with stabilization, but it got here, and evidently it came from China. So if you're buying something from Penn State, it's still made in China. Go figure. Could have probably bought a cheaper lathe that was just as good because it probably came off the same tool set. So maybe shop around. Alright, so there's the headstock. And that's all that is in this box. Alright, so let's check off real quick to see if we got everything. Yes, 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 yes. 4 feet, yep, they're already on the bottom. Screwdriver, yep, all that stuff is there. So good stuff. So evidently that's a closer bolt. Not sure what that's for. It's not really listed in the individual parts. Don't see this part in here anywhere. But step on in the assembly instructions. It says inserted. So you would think that they would include that into their assemblies. Insert closer bolt into the hole next to the door. Coming through the top opening, slide spring over the part of the bolt inside the bed. Assume that's supposed to be inside the bed. Check your grammar there. Alright, so I got to reach in here, compress the spring, put the washer and the nut over top of what I just did. So this ought to be fine. Now there's failed attempt number 1. Now I got to find the nut again. All right, oh my gosh. Got the washer in. This is the door. And the door assembly is also not listed in the parts manual. And this is the door hinge, which was just kind of loosely in there. So let me figure out this. Of course, the handle's in the way of the hinge. That's just a dumbass way to close the door. What? It's just hokey. Why would you do that? You know, how about just a simple latch? You know, why is this big stupid ass mechanism inside the lathe to hold the door shut? Go figure. Anyway, I'm not going to let that discourage me. Hey, look, a belt. That is a logical place to put it. It'd have been nice if they would have told me that. It's interesting. So on the bottom of the headstock, you've got these two indexing things that fit in this groove. And out here, that's not a bad fit. You know, certainly it's not squared up without doing some shimming or some checking. But there's not a lot of movement there, so that's pretty good. But when you actually move this back in position, so you're going to bolt it down, which is there, look at all that movement. What a dumbass. Why don't you design this thing so these indexes are actually indexing something instead of irrelevant? I guess I'm just used to machine tools that are a lot more precision. And I'm only assuming that these are the nuts and bolts that are the bolts that I'm supposed to use. It didn't really clarify. But I guess if you're buying a lathe, you're probably good with your hands, good for figuring stuff out. And it is what it is. So these 4 bolts also have a lock washer and a regular washer on them. These are hex head cap screws. I don't know what size they are. Maybe 1/4 inch. It's got a nice light here, but it didn't come with a light bulb. So you got to fish your own out somewhere. Another thing I don't like is right now I'm having some difficulty getting these things to thread in with my fingers, but yet there's not enough room here to get the Allen screw in here yet, or the Allen wrench. There's better ways to do things, folks. Get your engineering head out of your ass. Spent $700 and change on this particular lathe. It did come with some, I think some pin making stuff, and the extra lathe body. But, you know, you would think for that much money you would have a little more refinement in the parts and pieces. So I finger tightened everything up, and now I'm just going to go around with the Allen, hex head Allen screw. Start snugging it down until I start feeling some resistance, and then I'll stop, make sure all of them are about the equal tension, and then I'll start actually tightening them up. It's a good idea when you're working with hex head stuff to make sure that your Allen key is fully inserted in that hex head. If not, you're liable to strip the top of the hex head out. So now let's put part A of the belt guard on. Here's part B of the belt guard, and then part C would be this stupid screw. Poor design. So the two wiring connections that I made are this one. This gives the motor power, and then this one here as well. So that's going to give some feedback, like how fast is the motor going, control that type of stuff. So those are the two connections that I had. The motor was already connected to the controller by this plug, and then here is the power outlet that actually goes to the wall. So that'll plug in there, and then this will plug into the wall. So the motor, the wiring was actually very easy. Comes with a tool holder that's just held on by a couple of Phillips head screws in the back of the lathe here, so I got that mounted. Okay, that works pretty good. So it's got a locked and unlocked indicator here, so I screwed that all the way down. And then this is spring loaded, so I can rotate it up, rotate it to the unlocked position, and the spindle head is free. If I rotate this to the lock position, it drops into one of the indexing holes and will lock that spindle in place, so you can run a Dremel, a sander, or whatever you want to on the workpiece here. So I'm going to make sure that that's always unlocked. Good. I think I'm going to actually apply some wax to the bed of this lathe. Probably should have done it under here, but I'm not going to do that now. But I am going to protect these ways here, so I'm going to put some paste wax on that. So I'll be right back. It's like the bed needs to be cleaned a little bit. It's got some metal residue on it, probably from the machining, grinding of the surface where they didn't clean it very good. It could be some protectant or something they put on the waves. I'll go ahead and wax in here too. Look how dirty that is. That's just crazy. I know they got to protect it for shipping so it doesn't rust, so I'm not going to beat them up too bad about that, because this is kind of insignificant. But I do want to wax these. It'll make the tool rest slide better, and it'll protect the ground waves from rusting. So I certainly do encourage you to do that as well. Alright, I'm going to put on the tool rest now. Tool rest is pretty straightforward. It's got this big washery thing that goes in the way beds. Before I have that down. So this is an eccentric bar, so it's kind of a cam action. So this bar is, the shaft and the bar are not in the same axis, so this bar here is actually eccentric. So when you rotate this, it actually draws this up into this way here. Pop that in. Across. And that way, when you rotate that down, it securely locks that in place. And you can slide your tool rest in place, lock that at whatever height you want. So that's cool. That was pretty straightforward. Oh my gosh, I'm in it. I don't know if I want that handle upright. I may have figured that one out in a minute. But that is out of the way now of my tool, so that's probably fine. That kind of changes my whatever direction you want to get to. I like that. You can just really get in tight on something. To assemble the tailstock, it says refer to this page to assemble the tailstock. So you just got to look at the picture, put stuff on it. So it looks like we got this little handle thing here. It goes in this location. This is part number 34, the Tailstock spindle lock. Alright, so right now this tail will spin freely. Lock this down. Tailstock is locked. Alright, so that's good. Alright, so we got that one in place. So now number 4 is quill tightening lever. So let's put on the quill tightening lever. Keep that loose. There's the quill travel. Alright. Now we got number 3, which is going to be the hand wheel quill adjustment. And then looks like K goes into number 3. So these two pieces are going to go together. And they machined them out of 2 separate pieces. So instead of having a piece of metal, aluminum, whatever, that is turned and threaded, you got a cheap piece of metal with a steel bolt in the center of it. Doesn't mean it's a bad design, just a different way to make this work. Alright, that looks like we've got an Allen set screw here, so there's the flat on my spindle. Looks like only 1 flat, so there's 2 set screws, so 1 flat and 2 set screws. And it's interesting because I'm looking at my spindle now. And this spindle has been used before. I see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this handle has been on and off this particular lathe at least 3 times. So don't think the lathe is used, but probably did that at the manufacturing location for test fitting and stuff. Maybe, I don't know. Out of the box, the screws were a little too long, so I'm going to put this one on first and hit that flat. Let that set my depth for the other one. So this just screws down on the round part of the shaft. Now there's no, so I'm used to machine tools, stuff with precision. So on my milling machine, I've got a vernier here. And every rotation of the handle, I can tell how far I am moving my quill in that direction. This machine does not have that, and may not need it. You know, I'm used to moving my quill with precise measurements to counter bore a hole or something like that. I know exactly how deep I'm going. This machine doesn't have that feature, so life was kind of sucky. So that locks the quill, so this handle doesn't do anything. Unlock that, and I can advance this. 4.5 inches though of quill travel is very respectable. That's going to allow me to counter bore into something a long way. So I'm really happy with that. That's going to be 4.5 inches of travel. Alright, so it looks like I've exhausted my travel, and now I've got a problem here because rotating it counterclockwise is not moving the quill back. Come on, Penn State. Work with me a little bit. There we go. So there should have been some kind of stop to prevent that from happening. That's frustrating. This handle is threaded to go on here, and it is not the same thread as the tailstock or the headstock. This is the left-hand thread, which I kind of expect that. Just took me a second to realize it. I've got the belt position on the slowest spindles. I got the speed control turned all the way down as far as it'll go. And the digital readout's reading 474 RPM. Advertised was 450 RPM. I have no clue how accurate the encoder is that's measuring this RPM. So now let's dial it up. The motor is very smooth, very quiet. So now I'm at full speed. I'm letting the encoder settle down. And it says the max is 3,600 RPM, 950 to 3,600. I went from about 1,000 up to 3,749. That's no load. This is the instruction manual that came with the lathe bed extension. Obviously, there's not a lot to do. Step one is remove the end plate from the lathe bed. Either they didn't include a end plate with this lathe, or they need to change their instructions. So anyway, that's not a big deal. And then align the two holes at the end of the lathe bed with the two holes in the end of the extension bed. So we got two holes there. These are the bolts. And then on the back side, we've got the counterbore holes here. So that's what I've got to line up. Let's see if I can use that handle to help me support. Yeah. That'll at least get it up there so I can get a hand under it and get the bolts lined up. Maybe. And this is just a matter of wiggling and trying to get those bolts started. So I got one started really well. And I've got the other one started. So I'm just going to finger tighten those for now. You can see that they're off this way and off this way. So I'm just going to finger tighten those a little bit. And now I'm going to kind of jock him into position better. All right, so I've got them really close now, and I'm going to get my wrench. Now the next step, it says, so before I tighten those screws up, I'm going to move my tailstock back here and put it right on this joint and clamp it down. And that's going to allow the indexing and everything else to level the two surfaces up this way and this way. And I figure just like anything else, once you do this process a couple of times, it gets easier and you kind of understand what to finagle with it. So I'm actually going to put that right in the joint, and I'm reaching underneath the feel because I want to put that washer underneath there. All right, so I've got that tightened down. So now I'm going to tighten these bolts down underneath. So other than just a little bit of time consuming, it's a very straightforward process. It's just a matter of getting the alignment right and locked into place, and then tightening these bolts down. So it's not going to be a bad deal at all. So I feel that that is tight enough. Now let's see if this tailstock will travel freely from the original lathe bed all the way to the end of the bed extension. Unlock it. Can't even feel a slowdown. Very nice transition, nice and smooth. It's well supported out here on the end. It's well supported here. So that is not going to present a problem. So I just added that lathe bed extension, and it's really good. I mean, the tailstock is traveling very freely. I just got to watch the eccentric underneath there, but the tailstock, if I can keep the eccentric loose, travels just fine. Between the two transitions, I don't even hear or feel a bump through there, so that's great. Good job, Penn State. And then when I roll this all the way to the back, lock it in position, I just have an incredible upgrade to this lathe. So there's a face plate on one end. I don't have anything in the tailstock on the other end, but you can see with one bed extension, I'm up to 42 inches or so easily. You know, you're going to lose a little bit once you include the centers on that or a chuck or whatever. But 40 inches or so with one bed extension. This bed extension for this 12-inch lathe was $109 from Penn State. And if you look at the end of it, I can add another bed extension if I wanted to. So this is a 24-inch bed extension here. So, you know, if I moved out another 24 inches, that would just be an incredible lathe. Probably more than I would ever do unless I was turning some kind of 4-poster canopy bed or something like that where I needed spindles 6 or 7 feet tall. Otherwise, this is going to be more than enough for me for the foreseeable future. Probably going to do smaller projects. That's why I'm not really interested in keeping the bed extension on there, but I did buy it when I bought the lathe. That way 10 years from now I don't have to worry about is that company going to be out of business? Will they be manufacturing that bed extension? You know, too many variables for the future to predict, so I just went ahead and got it. All right, just going to do a follow-up. What you see is what you get, or WYSIWYG. So this is a 12-inch Turncrafter Commander Tailspinner, 12-inch. I also purchased the optional 24-inch lathe bed extension, which I do not have on at this time. Let's start over here with the motor head. You get clear readout with the RPM. Right now I've got the faceplate on there. Nice, bright, clear read off. Quickly it tells you when you have different works chucked up, what the speeds you can expect out of that will be. Right now I've got the tail faceplate in stock. I'm going to turn the lathe off. Stops very quickly. On top you have the indexing lock knob. Right now it's unlocked, so the headstock can spin freely. If I rotate this and put it in the locked position, it will drop into one of these index positions, so I can unlock it, move it a little bit more, drop it down, and find that next position. So that's how you lock the spindle. Moving on or down here, this is part of the belt changing mechanism. So this allows you to adjust the tension on the belt. So you unlock it first, and then this handle will allow you to move it up and down to put tension on the belt. So the belt is replaced over here, and here's that knob that I said was kind of just a stupid design. So pull this out to open the door, but look how that is in there. I mean, that's all it is. It's a big long screw with a spring on it, and that's what's keeping the door shut. That's all it does. Just a waste, bad design. Sorry about the jerkiness. Here is the one screw to remove the belt cover, belt guard. So pull this screw out. Take this piece off. There's those two indexing pins. See how that's on there? And this will lift off. And that exposes the belt. And by lifting up on the release over on the side that I've already showed you, gives you enough slack to move this belt between the pulley systems. So you just have two positions, high and a low speed, and then a variable speed dial here, which increases or decreases the speed within that range. So moving over to the tool rest, you got a nice modern tool rest here that's going to allow you to quickly adjust that, get it in and out wherever you want to. Raise and lower this guy, put it in whatever position, or put the 12-inch one on here. Moving over to the tailstock. Of course, the tailstock will slide up and down the bed of the lathe and lock in wherever you want to. Right now, the tailstock is in spin mode, so it will spin, or you can lock that down so this doesn't spin. So if you've already got a live center or something like that, you don't need your tailstock to spin. You can put your live center with a bearing in it. That's going to spin as always. This locks the quill from moving in and out that way. So if you want to put a drill bit or a Jacob's chuck in your Morse taper so you can drill counter bores, then you would do that. You would unlock the tailstock, and then by working this handle here, you can advance the tailstock or the drill bit into your workpiece. So that's how all that works. I did notice an issue when you advance this all the way out, and it's got 4.5 inches of travel, but it kind of got stuck out there, and I couldn't retract it by this until I manually put my hand on it and kind of force the threads back together. So that's how that works. Moving on around to the back of the machine, this is my tool holder, so I've got my centers in it that came with it. Here's my 12-inch tool rest. You've got these handles on the ends of the bed, both ends that pull out so you can move this thing around. So underneath there's the DC motor and the controller. Right now this lathe does not have a reverse switch. It's a DC motor. I will put a switch on it, and then I will be able to run this motor forward or backward for sanding and polishing. All right, so continuing on this side, this handle allows you to spin the work. You've got your lamp here on the gooseneck. I found these goosenecks usually don't last too long, but whatever. It's got a nice work light on it. 40 watt is the bulb you're supposed to put in there. I'll find me some LEDs or something. Moving to the back of the lathe. Not sure what these two holes are for. Didn't see them referenced in the manual. This is the cord keeper that I put on. I was missing a bolt from the factory. And this is how the motor is wired in. So you've got this. They did a good job here, so it's you can't mess this up. Yalla yalla, big connector to big connector. This will only go into one place. That connects the motor there, and this goes to the wall. So very, very simple lathe. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks a lot.